Today's stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Hi, my name is Leonard Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is to continue the grid lines for our little waveform display, and in case you are new here, we are doing real-time audio effects for REAPER. So come and join me on this adventure, this wild ride. So before we get to the main course of today's session, which is to do the grid lines on the other axis, the DB axis, which is going to be the hardest part. So before we get to that, I do want to change some things about the way we implemented these grid lines that we have on the screen that we implemented yesterday. Right now, what we have is a way to change the duration of the waveform display, and that much is working, but the grid duration is something that I ended up not liking. So let me explain what we did yesterday, what I want to do differently, and then go ahead and implement that. What we did yesterday was to have a way to change the grid duration, and you set the number of a millisecond. So I guess you set the duration between the consecutive grid lines. What I don't like about this is that when you want to have the grid lines in place and just want to change the duration, the grid lines don't stay in place. The duration stays in place. And that doesn't really work all that well for me. In the Caucus oscilloscope, for instance, when you change it, you can barely make out these lines, but there are grid lines here. And when you change the duration, the labels change, but the grid lines stay in the same place. And I think that that is actually a sensible thing to do, because when we are zooming in and out of the waveform, the space that we have to draw is about the same. So if we do it the way that we are doing, then the numbers start going on top of each other. So it doesn't really work. So it turns out that it makes more sense for me to define the spacing, because that's what ultimately what the renderer is caring about. So it makes more sense for me to define the spacing and then compute the grid duration based on that. So I will be changing it so that when you change the duration, the lines stay in the same place, exactly the same as the oscilloscope meter. So that's what we are going to do to begin with. Then there is also a refactoring that I want to do, and then we'll get to the other grid lines. Hey, Bo. Bo is here. How are you doing, Bo? All right. So let's change the parameter when we are passing it here, and then we'll go into the implementation and fix things there. The grid duration should instead be a spacing thing. So oh no. Do you want to talk about it? What's up, Bo? So the grid duration will be the grid gap. I guess that's the name we used actually, the grid main gap. The main gap, and the width of the whole thing is 300 and the height is 200. So I will make one line every 100 pixels. You can go down to 50. And the maximum maybe 150, I guess. in steps of 10. That makes sense, and that's the grid gap in pixels. Oh no. Oh no. I hope you get better, Bo. I hope that this stream, this coding session entertains you and distracts you from the post-COVID situation. We are here for you, Bo. Right, so the grid gap is the parameter that I want to pass. And in here, I will change the grid duration in milliseconds to be the grid main gap. And I will not compute the grid main gap. Let's get down to where we are computing this, which is here. There, which is there. And instead, we are going to compute I don't think we need to do this at all. And how many lines do we have is not a function of the duration. It's a function of the gap. How many lines do we have? Well, we have the grid main length. We have the main length. So that is the main length is the length of this axis, or this one. It's the main axis of drawing, and that's its length. So we take the length of that and we divide by the gap. And that number may be a fraction, so we take the floor of that, because we cannot have a fractional line. That's the number of lines that we are going to have. And that will be necessary here, and only here, it seems. Yeah, so this doesn't need to be there, it can be there, and then I can collapse these two sections. And then reorder some of the variables, right? We have main cross, main length, cross length, and then the grid main, the line main, and then the grid main lines. Oh man, the names of the variables are wild. But okay, so then we have the label that is going to be, for instance, 1 second, 2 seconds, and so forth. And then the label is not something that we compute this way. We'll compute the label in the loop. I will do the horizontal axis first. Or perhaps this is a good time as any, since the code is so messy anyway, to do the other refactoring that I had in mind. And that is to extract this whole loop out. I know I went back and forth with this yesterday, and it is true that doing the loop this way saves some resources, because we are only doing the conditional once instead of doing it inside the loop. But we are printing here, and that is pretty much the same as this. And then we'll do more printing as we have the other axes and more lines, and I think it will be too much repetition. So I think I want to go back to the original version where I have the conditional in the loop. So let's go ahead and do that. How many times do we want to loop? This many times. And what do you want to do in the loop? Well, we will have one condition, that's inevitable, and we'll compute a bunch of things in the conditional in pretty much the same fashion as this. But this needs to live in the loop, so that's why I have 2 blocks. And then Sure thing, Bo. Sure thing. Right, so in this block, we will have to compute everything that is different. So this spacing, for instance, is different over here, and we'll have to compute that. And give these things names even. But let's do that in a moment. First, let's do the things that are hopefully the same. Oh yeah, we'll not want to do it here. That's where we compute stuff. And then we need to compare this section with this section and see where things go differently. So the main label we are not computing this way. I just drop this there. We will have to revisit this. We'll not need this line. We now need to read these lines. Okay, so the GFX line has different arguments. I think I will introduce a variable called gridX, not X main. No, this is going to be the X position, and that will be the grid X. So let's say that the line has a start point and an end point. Yeah, and the start point has an X and Y, and the end point has an X and Y. So the start X on the vertical mode will be this, and the start X on the horizontal mode will be that. Then the Y will be that. And then the end. Then this. Okay, that was a lot. Oh, I shouldn't delete the line. I should use the variables that I defined, right? Like that. Oh, and all of these points are for the main axis. There you go. And then the label can come down here. And yeah, we are doing now the conditional in the loop, which is a bit slower, but I think that this extraction will pay off. Then for the sprintf, this is the same, that's 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 the same. This and that is the same, the grid color is the same, and then this is going to change. Oh, even this is the same, so only that is going to change. We will have a grid main label X and Y. All right, so with that, we have extracted all the things that are different about this. Then there is the issue of this being a plus and this being a minus, and we treated this last time, and then I reverted, and I'm gonna do it again. So the grid main gap increment variable, grid main gap increment. So on the vertical mode, we want to go down, so that's a plus. And on the horizontal, we want to go left, so that's a minus. And with that, we can remove this chunk. Okay, I did the refactoring and I also did this change in the argument. So now there is a whole lot that is broken. Let's go over everything again to see how to fix it, fix everything. So this is the argument that we are receiving. That's okay. Then we have lines maximum, lines minimum, main, cross, main length, cross length, grid main, gap increment, line main. Then grid main lines, how many lines, because that's going to determine the loop. Then, and actually this has more to do with the loop, so I guess I'm going to group here as a matter of how the paragraph is gonna go. And then grid main label. No, we actually have a bunch of things that come before that. There you go. So grid main lines, and then all of those. And then this, and then dash, and then the other one. Okay. Oh, interesting. I don't think I need this increment stuff. What I can do is negate the gap. All right, so now the only thing left to do is to compute this label, but the label will be based on the position and not vice versa. So before we were computing the label, so we were computing like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then we were computing the position based on that. Now we have a position already, that's this, and we need to compute the label. So what is the label? Well, it is this position. So take the length of the whole thing. So take the main length. Where is the main length? Yeah, the main length. That's the length or the width of the whole box. Take that, divide by no, it's actually the other way around. So take the whole duration. Where is is the variable for the duration? This is getting long and out of hand again, but I guess it's just the complexity is increasing. Okay, so take the duration, the main length, and the grid main. With these three variables, we should be able to get the label. The duration is how long we want to display in total. Divide that by the length of the whole box and multiply by the position where we are at. That should do it. Except that this number is going to become negative, right? I want this number, the grid main is now an absolute position, and we want it to be a relative position, I think. Yeah, this is absolute. We want it to be relative, so we'll have to change that. Ooh, yikes, it's gonna be one of those things. Okay, so the main is the y, or let's do the horizontal one because it's easier. Main is x crosses y, main length cross length, all that remains. Then the grid main will change. I think that I will make this grid main. We are updating the grid main with a gap, and the gap will be negated. I think it makes more sense to just have this. Let's not negate the gap, and we'll have this number go from 0 up, except that we'll be smart and we'll go from right to left. Yeah, that will be necessary. All right, let's do this. So the grid main will be just 0, or perhaps the grid gap to begin with. And do I want to do the same treatment for the drawing of the line? Perhaps. Perhaps, but I will not change this right now. This session is getting wildly more complicated than I thought, and I may not even get to the dB stuff that would go on the horizontal axis. I don't think I will get to that. It's getting way out of hand. Super, super complicated stuff. Probably because I'm sort of re-architecting as I go, but still. So, remove main from here. The same way we are doing grid main. Yeah, let's not focus on the drawing of the line. Let's focus on the drawing of the grid. So we'll have the grid main starting at a gap because we don't want to draw the first grid line. So we'll start at a gap. And then the number of lines, that at least still makes sense. And then we'll do a loop for this many times, and we have to make sure that in the end we'll add one grid gap to this, and we are adding one grid gap to that, so that much is right. Then we have this. Okay, we are looping. Okay, then now the cross, those are absolute positions, and that's fine. Yeah, but this is not fine. Yeah, let's make these coordinates relative as well, because we are depending on the main length here, or the grid main, and the grid main is now relative. And when I say relative, I just mean relative to the X and Y positions that were given, so to relative to main and cross. Yikes, this feature of letting you draw the waveform horizontally or vertically makes the code so much harder to read by like an order of magnitude because of the introduction of this main and cross nomenclature. It gets way out of hand. At least in my brain, it doesn't stick. It falls off my brain. But I do like the end result, so I'll struggle through. So in horizontal mode, where is the grid line X? That's on the grid main, and that's a relative position. Where is the start Y? That is at 0, relative. Where is my end X? That's the same. Where is my end Y? That's just the cross length. Then where do I put my label? I will put my label to the right of the grid line. So I will take this and add a space. And I will take that and add a space. Then, to actually do the drawing, since these coordinates are now all relative. Oh, hang on. I didn't do the vertical. Let's do the vertical. So this should be 0. And this should remain. And so in this case, on the vertical one, I want my X to be just this space and my Y to be and I know it's 0, but it doesn't hurt to have this here because then it matches nicely with what we had there, as well as with, yeah, matches well with this one. Okay, I think that will do. So now, because all these coordinates are relative, I will need to add a bunch of things. And the x-axis, oh, hang on. I will want to add different things on different axes. Right? Because on this one, if it's horizontal, I want to add main. But if it's vertical, I want to add cross. No, I just want to add main. I cannot even reason about this anymore. It's so freaking complicated. This whole coordinate system is getting too complicated. It's just complicated. It's complication all across. Do I want to just add grid main? No, grid main is a relative value. So what do I want to add here? I guess I literally just want to add X and Y. I guess that's what I want to do. There is 0 chance that this is going to work. 0 chance, I'm telling you. Eesh. And over here too, these grid labels, they are also relative. So I want to add X and Y. Okay, I'm not even gonna test this. Let's go over it again. Oh, and also I need to do the local variable stuff because that's definitely wrong. So let's do the local variable stuff. Lines maximum, lines minimum, then main, cross, main length, cross length, grid main. Oh, that's already wrong. It's line main and grid main comes below. Then grid main lines, then grid main start X, start Y and X and Y, label X, label Y, then grid main label, then offset. Okay. Now let's go over the logic one more time. This is fine. That's fine. And this is a to-do. Now I'm gonna touch that now. Then to begin with, I jump the first one, so I jump this one. How many lines will I have? This many. Is this right? If I have a length of 300 and a gap of 100, then let's say that this is 300 and I have a gap of 100. I expect to see 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3. So 300 divided by 100 is 3. So that should be right. Then watch. I already know of an issue below. But anyway, let's get there step by step. Loop this number of times and then do the vertical again, more weird variables. On the horizontal, the start main position, this is what is wrong. Here we need to have the grid main length minus yeah, because this is the coordinate where we are going to draw to. So we want to go to the right. This gets us to the right. No, grid main length is not a thing. I want to do just main length. So I go to the right of the component. No, main length is also not a thing. What is the variable name for the length of the whole thing? It's main length. I have a typo. Letter N was missing. Okay, now I got it. So we need to go to the right of the component and then subtract the grid main. That seems right. Then the Y position goes from 0. Oh, hang on. This can be dash, and dash can be dash, which makes it very clear that we are not changing the X coordinate. Right. Then the Y coordinate goes from 0 to cross length. Now I'm happy. This makes sense. Then the label X is based on it is to the right of the line and a little bit below where the line ends. Okay, now for the horizontal one. The X position should go from 0 to cross length. That seems right. The Y position should be at grid main, and it should not change because we want a horizontal line, so the Y position doesn't change. And the label is a bit to the right and above the grid line. Okay, we got this. Then to actually do the drawing, all these values are relative, so we add X and Y of the whole component. And this makes sense. And now comes the line that justifies this whole mess. This line, to compute the label, I take the duration in milliseconds that I want to display, divide by the length of the component, and multiply by the place where I am at. Great. Then I'm showing this is going to be in milliseconds. So I divide by 1,000 to get seconds. Then all of this makes sense. And then X and Y, grid main label X, main label Y. Okay, this stands a chance of working. Let's give it a try. Yeah, check this out. It worked. First try. Haha, cool stuff. So perhaps a step of 10 is not good enough for us to see this moving around. I'll give us a step of 1. Okay. But the main thing is cool. The main thing, and when we have exactly 60, we have exactly 5 seconds. But the main thing is I'm going to use this slider, and the points are going to stay, the lines are going to stay where they are, but the labels are going to change. And this is the behavior that the oscilloscope has. Rock and roll. We did it. But this default value is a mess. The default value of this one is going to be 60. Okay, I only have 20 minutes left, so I don't think there is any point actually trying. Oh, hang on. There's something weird. No, it's fine. I was checking that this has different labels as that, but that's expected because now we are not giving the number of seconds, we are giving the number of pixels, and the thing is not square. Right, so I don't think there's any chance of us doing the DB stuff today, so perhaps let's just try to finish this other refactoring that we said we wanted to do for consistency's sake. This is going to be used way down here. And it's not going to be the literal place where we are drawing, because right now it's the absolute coordinate of where we are drawing. It's no longer going to be that. This can be... This can actually start at 0, and we don't need that. This is going to be the offset from the base where we are drawing to. And I think it belongs here. And then the line main is just going to always be +1. So now the line main is a relative coordinate from the beginning of where we are drawing up to the pixel where we are at. Let's see what we are left with. Now I really like this, because if you're in vertical mode, you're just swapping the axis, but the logic remains the same. Nice. And all of this has to do with grid. And then this I also like. Now the vertical feature, I do not like the nomenclature that we had to introduce, and I don't think there is any elegant way of going about this except for introducing this nomenclature, but at least when you go into the vertical stuff, you are just computing coordinates. Awesome. And I want the line main to be a relative value, so I just add 1, and the offset. The offset is the offset into the circular buffer. I will not touch that. That one is working, and I do like the way that it is an offset relative to the circular buffer situation and whatnot. So I will not worry about this. Then we set the color, main length. That makes sense. Then this is just, this whole thing is just us computing the sample value. So I'm fine with that. And then we have a line cross maximum and minimum. This is an absolute value. I will change that. So let's align. So hang on, are we still using these variables? A bare minimum variable. Am I, not minimum, a bare main variable. Am I using that? I'm not. I'm using a bare cross variable. I'm not. Cool. Am I using this? Yes. Am I using that? Yes. But this can go away. Cool. Right, so continuing. Yeah, everything up to everything down to this point I like. Then let's have another one of those blocks where we compute some alternatives. And we'll have a single GFX line drawing situation. And we'll have to make these values absolute, like this. This will be the line X, or perhaps start X. Yeah, it will be similar to the grid thing I did here. But naturally, it will be about line. Got this. So in vertical mode, I want essentially these 4 variables. And in horizontal mode, those 4 variables. And then get rid of that. Get this. We're almost there. Damn. That's it, I think. Let's see. If I am on the horizontal mode, I want to start my line. Oh, it's actually the main width minus the line main. I want to go to the right of the component and then come back that many samples. No, I'm drawing from left to right. I think I want to do the drawing from right to left then, because it makes more sense. Let's bite the bullet and do that as well. We have 10 minutes. Let's break everything. The offset starts at -1 and the offset goes to the left. Collecting the samples doesn't really change. And processing the samples doesn't really change. Then this is great. There is only this that we have to think about now. So in horizontal mode, we'll go to the right and subtract the line main. So now this line main is making the same, is playing the same role as the grid main. Nice. And we still need this. Yes, okay. Cool, I like the symmetry. Then this is going to be a vertical line. So the X position should not change. And the other one is going to be a vertical line. So that should not change. And what is the Y? It is the maximum and the minimum. Great. How about the vertical mode? I have a feeling that some of these should be 0. No. So in this case, it makes sense that we have the minimum and maximum as the X coordinates, and this is going to be a vertical line. And this should be line main, and this should be that. Yeah, I think we got it. Okay, let's do the local variable treatment. Lines maximum, lines minimum. Then main and cross go away. Then main length and cross length, and then line main. Well, no, that's gonna come later. So we have grid main lines. Start X, start Y, end X, end Y, label X, label Y, label itself. Then line main offset, line maximum, line minimum, line cross maximum, line cross minimum. Then duration in 7, then it's over actually. No, it's not over. Cross maximum, cross minimum, and then these 4 guys. And then it's over. All right. 50% chance that this will work. That's what I give you. Place your bets. Okay, it worked. We are still looking at the same waveform. We are drawing it from right to left. Yikes. This was a difficult session for me. But I think we did it. And we have 5 minutes to spare, so... we could do the DB stuff. We could try anyway. Let's try. This grid main stuff with the gap and everything, that's for the main axis. We'll also need to introduce stuff for the cross axis. Let's start here. So we have the grid main, and we have the grid color, and we have the grid main gap. So let's just have a grid cross gap. And this one goes to 200. So I will let the maximum be 100, perhaps 25, and go from 25 to 100 in steps of 1, blah, 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 alrighty. And then we need to pass that guy as argument. Can we pull this off? Do you think that we spent almost 1 hour doing a bunch of refactoring so that this would be easy to implement, and we are just going to punch it in the face and do it in 5 minutes? Perhaps I will be able to do the thing that I mentioned on the title of this stream, which is always nice. I always start the stream saying, okay, we'll do this quick thing, and then we'll get to the main thing. And then I die doing the quick thing. Right. Okay, so all the arguments are in place. Then let's come here. We have the grid main. For DB, we actually want to go up and down, but we want to have the 0 line. So the grid cross, oh, hang on. We are looping for this number of times. So this is just going to be for the main grid. We'll have to do another loop for the cross grid. And okay, let's think about this. We want to know first how many times we are going to loop. And yeah, we want to do this initialization essentially. So I guess I'm going to pull this out to set the color, and then we'll have these 2 loops in a row. So now this reads as, we are about to enter one section of drawing, the grid section of drawing, and then we do 2 loops in a row. I will just start by copying this whole section. And as a cheap trick, I am going to change from main to cross everywhere. Naturally, this will not cut it, but it will be perhaps a sensible start. Cross, all right. So let's go over how do we want to do the cross stuff? Well, we want to start at 0, and then the lines, I'll say I'm thinking about the horizontal version going up. So how many lines do I want? I want the line at 0 dB, so I'll add 1. And how many more lines do I want? The cross length divided by the gap is a sensible number. Then we want to loop over this many lines. And then let's do the horizontal one. The line is going to start at, so this is a line that is going to be horizontal. So it will start at 0. I think I'm just going to swap these two. Am I right? It's going to start at 0 and go to... No, it's not going to be just swapping the two. It's going to be a horizontal line. So it is going to start at 0 and end at cross length. The Y position, I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I know it's going to be the same in the beginning and the end because I want the line to be horizontal. Then, how do I compute this? Well, this is just the grid cross. All right, yeah, that makes sense. And where does my label go? I want it to go on top of the line. So I can do this and I can do that. And then I draw the line. When I'm vertical, we're talking about vertical lines now. Oh, check this out. Pretty cool, huh? We derived the same thing twice. So what we are doing is swapping these two. And since I just managed to recreate this, I know that I want to recreate that now. In fact, look at this. Even this is the same. Nice. So I can just recopy this over. Rechange from main to cross. And then swap the blocks. I love the symmetry. And perhaps we could even exploit this symmetry to make the code even shorter, but no, let's not. Okay, let's check that we have this. Yeah, and let's check that we have that one. I'm not sure I want to do this cross length situation here. When I have a vertical drawing, I want the lines to be vertical, and I want their... Yeah, I don't want to... I just want them to be the grid cross. Then 0 down to cross length. And this should not be the same as that. Oh, it should be, yeah. Okay, we got this. So it was almost the same as the other one. Not quite, though. All right. And then when drawing the line, I want to add half of the cross length. But I don't know to which. Yeah, I need to return here because this is not right. This is not just a grid cross. It is the cross length divided by 2 so that I get to the middle, minus, because I want positive values to go up, minus what? Minus the grid cross times this. So I can take these two occurrences and extract and end up with that. Which incidentally is a formula very similar to this one, isn't it? Yes, it is. And that much is right. Okay. Then over here, I want to do exactly the same formula. And now this has nothing to do. This formula has nothing to do with the duration. We need now to compute the dB. So grid cross is a number from 0 going up. And yeah, half of the cross length represents from minus infinity to 0 dB. So the cross length divided by 2 is the extent that we are going to go, and dividing this by the grid cross. No, it should be the other way around, shouldn't it? Getting the grid cross and dividing by that will get us a number between 0, because grid cross starts at 0 and goes up to 1. Because grid cross will be at most at the top. Okay, so that's a number between 0 and 1. And I can take the dB of that. Linear to dB of that. This is going to be the grid cross label. Perhaps I should be dividing on the other one. Shouldn't be dividing here. Should be dividing there. Then over here, this is now in dB. And the rest remains. I give this 30% of chance of working. Interesting. We are getting a minus 400 dB, and that's correct, because minus 400 dB is our minus infinity. We are not getting more lines than that. Perhaps drawing the 0 line is silly. And why are we getting this line? If the component only goes up, it goes down to here. That seems wrong. Yeah, so do we want to draw the 0 line? Perhaps not. Yeah, let's not. That's easy though. We just have to do gap over here. Grid main gap turns into grid cross gap. And we don't add one. But the real weird thing is that this is looping only once. So what are we doing to grid cross? We are adding. Perhaps we haven't treated the local variables thing, so perhaps that could be an issue. I don't know. Let's go over the code once more to try to catch mistakes. Then let's do the local variable thing, and then we'll test again, and whatever works. At least it seems like I didn't break the other axis. So that's a good thing. this change here didn't break anything. What are we passing as the grid cross gap? A number. Should be 25. Oh, you know what could be cute? What if instead of computing the number of times that we are going to go around the loop, what if we just check while the grid main is less than the main length? Or perhaps less than or equal to. I will allow you to draw a label exactly on the end. So while that is true, we can get rid of grid main lines. We can get rid of that, and we just need to open parentheses right here. So this will be just looping in until it runs out. That's nicer. Let's do the same here. While the cross length or the grid cross is less than or equal to the cross length, cute. All right, let's go over this again. So to start drawing, nice. To start drawing, I don't start drawing on the first, on the rightmost side. So that's why I have this here, and I have a similar one there. Then while I'm still in bounds, I guess I will do this perhaps like this. While I'm still in bounds, I will compute the coordinates for my line as well as the coordinate for my label. Then I will draw the line. I will compute the label using weird different formulas. Then I will draw the label at the given position. And then I will add the gap. All of that sounds right. So the only thing to do is the hard bit where we I know something I want to change about the syntax, just cosmetic thing, but let's do the X and Y on one line. All right. Bye. Hope you recover well, and I see you perhaps tomorrow. Bye, Bo. I'll finish this up real quick, and I will be out of here too. And this one is working, so I don't think I'm going to pay too much attention to that. This one is not working, so I'll pay more attention to this. The cross should go from 0 to cross length. Then the y coordinate is the height divided by 2 times 1 minus the grid cross. All right. That seems to make sense. And the y coordinate is the same, so this is going to be a horizontal line. A horizontal line is just what we want in this case. Great. Then the position of the label I don't care about too much. Then for this one, I want this to be a vertical line. So the X position should remain the same, and it does. The X position should be the cross length divided by 2, okay, all of that formula. And from 0 to cross length. Sounds good. So all of this seems okay. Let's do the local variable treatment. I'm not even going to mumble my way through this. We got rid of that. Seems correct. Let's try this. 1851. Oh, hang on. Is that the right one? Yes, 1851. What is wrong about this syntax? Oh, something is wrong with this line. Grid cross lines is gone. Yeah. Now we are just not drawing anything on the cross axis. Yeah, sure, but why? Are we leaking local variables? No. Does something change if I change this? No. Why are we not drawing anything on this axis? Are we getting here? Yes, we are. Is linear to DB doing the right thing? Well, that's just the label, so never mind that. I'm starting to guess that this is wrong. I'm pretty confident that this line is wrong. Let's work on this line again. What is the y coordinate that we want to go to? Take the cross length divided by 2, that's your starting point. Then subtract, watch, subtract the grid cross and that's it. That's it, just subtract the grid cross. That will give you the place. Yeah, so that was wrong. Let's try now. Huh. We are at least drawing something, am I right? And this line is too short. So let's review these coordinates. I want to start at 0 and I don't want to go to cross length. I want to go to main length. Same here, probably. Oh, now we have something going on here for us. Of course, it's all overlapping like crazy, but at least it is there. Let me just draw one of these to not get confused by the overlapping stuff. Here I will remove, as I will remove the vertical one. And we should be going up to the cross divided by 2. Yep. And now this seems to be right. Hooray. Let me see what the oscilloscope does. In terms of labels, the labels go on top and they don't draw the last one. Labels going on top, I think, is a sensible thing. So I'll continue to do my labels on top, but I will not let you draw the last one. No, not the oscilloscope, the waveform. Okay, and it's still overlapping like crazy, but that's something that we can work with. Fine, I'm fine with that. I am okay with that. That is working. The horizontal is working. I did what I promised on the title of this stream. Now let's try to do the vertical version. And for that, I will comment out the horizontal version real quick. And let's look at the mess we made. Yeah, it is messy, but I think it's right. It's just that the labels are kind of messed up because they're on top of one another, but it works. Perhaps we should make these labels rotated, but that's difficult to do. We would have to write this to an off-screen canvas and then rotate it there. And then rotate on the bleach. I'm not doing that. We did it. It's working. It's working, everyone. It is working. Let's get a gap of 100. And the width of the whole thing is the width of the whole thing is 300. So if we divide that by half, we have 150. And if our grid lines are on every 50, we're dividing this in 3 parts. I'm not even going to bother trying to make sense of the numbers to see if they're right. It just seems that it is working. It's just that it's on top of one another. We can make this more spacious. 1, 2, skip 3, 4, 5, skip 6, 7, 8, and 9. Width, height, 200, 200, from 100 to 500. I'm fine with all of that. I'm okay with that. Oh, hang on. The maximum width is not big enough, so we get a repetition of the waveform. If I want my duration, no, if I want my maximum to be 500, I might as well just give 500 here. And that's nice. I will also capitalize this. I will give 500 as the default in steps of 1, and all of these guys are in pixels. The screen is not big enough for 500, so let's do 250 as the default. And whatever works for this one will not work for that one, whatever. At least are the labels correct? So if I am doing 5 seconds on 250, if my gap is 50, I should be getting 5 seconds. Can a label get out of the way? Yeah, so it should be getting 5 seconds and 5 seconds. All right. And on the other axis, I'm getting minus 14, minus 8. Yeah, I'm dividing this in 10 steps. If I divide this, I wanted to have a line of minus 6. So what do I need to do? This. So it's probably 60. No? 65. Nope. 63 seems to be the value. Okay. So I'm going to put a tone generator. Oh, I already know an issue. Taking the square root of numbers. Yeah, that's an issue. Where are we doing the dB stuff? Linear to dB. The grid cross divided by, and if I have the square root, I need to take the square root of this. So let's just compute this in steps. We start with this square root question mark. I can, in this case, just take the square root, because this number is guaranteed to be positive, or it's guaranteed to be non-zero. Below I had to do this, but in this case I don't, because this number is guaranteed to be non-zero. And then as the third line, like this. I'm all right with all of that. But anyway, I'll bring in the tone generator because we are going to calibrate that now. We're almost there. We are almost there. Oh, the tone generator is still going. But anyway, here is the measurements with the square root situation in place. And in fact, we are drawing this with the square root. I think I will prefer not to have the square root for this. But it's good that we had it there because I caught the mistake. And where is the square root argument? It's right after duration. Okay, and that's much smaller. And if I do this, I'm changing the grid. If I do that, I'm changing the height, but not the grid. All looking good. Now let's see if this is actually calibrated correctly. Let's do -14. Yep, it's hitting that line exactly. Then let's do -8. And it's hitting that line exactly. So yeah, it is calibrated right. -4.4, and we should reach this line. Perfect. And just for good measure, I will do the square root situation. By default, it will be off. The tone generator is going on. I will turn off my voice. Let's do the tone generator at -100. Let's do the tone generator at what? At -7. And that is incorrect. Let's try -4 here. And yeah, -4 is not, this is not calibrated right. This number should be between 0 and 1, because we are going up to that. If I'm taking the square root, take the square root of that, which is a positive value. And compute linear to dB from the square root. Do I not need this? I will do -4.4. I am very weirded out by this. I thought I needed that. So I have a line here at -7. And it's correct. Let's have the line at this should be good. -13. That's correct. -7. It just works. How come? I'll take it. How come this works? This is gonna bug me. The square root is off. The square root has been off this whole time. Let's turn the square root on, because then it will be wrong. That's wrong. Okay. Square root is off. Let's go to -8. That is working. Now square root is on, and that's wrong. So both are wrong. With the square root and without the square root, everything is just wrong about the square root situation. There is a bug here. I don't know how to fix this bug. I will have to think about this. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing the exact same computation here and there. Hey, Fatis, it's been a while. Well, you are kind of late. I am late too, and that's the issue. I should have finished this a while ago. Just kept finding more and more things to do. Yeah, this line is just wrong. But how about we forget about that and do some more things? Because we are so near the finish line. We can just copy and paste this whole thing. And then instead of subtracting, we add. And that's that. In fact, even this whole label situation can go up. And for symmetry, I'll also bring this up. And then because I brought that up, I can remove this. So we now have two copies of this where one is saying minus and one is saying plus. And with that, we should have the lines and labels below the 0 dB line. Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, there you go. And without the square root, it even works. Awesome. And it's just the square root. And the square root should not change the positions of the labels. So the fact that the positions of the labels remain the same when I go from square root and not, that makes sense. But the values need to change. The labels need to change effectively. Perhaps not today. Oh, and because this changed, I will also need to come to the local variables and change there as well. The order is wrong, but I'm not leaking any variables, right? I'm not. But the order has changed. So now the grid cross label and the grid main label come first. Just like that. Before I give up, I just want to try this. If I take the square instead of the square root, does that work? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't hurt to try. I'm not even sure. I'm not even like, I don't have an intuition about this. It's just, I don't know. I'm doing whatever. If I do minus 28. Check this out. It seems to have worked. Right? If the square root is not doing it for you, try the square. Minus 15.9. And the coolest thing is that I have no idea why this worked. But I'll take it. I'll take it. Fixed. Maybe this shouldn't be linear to dB, it should be power to dB. I don't know. I don't know. But it worked. That makes me happy. Yeah, it's about minus 8. Yep, it's about minus 8. Well, it's minus 9 effectively. But the grid lines remain the same. It's just their labels that change. Cool. This didn't start very well, this session. Today's stream didn't start very well. I was like, trying to do too many refactorings at once and whatnot. But in the end, I think that the code looks okay. And we succeeded. We added grid lines on the hard axis, which is the DB axis. So yeah, right. Perhaps we should change the order of drawing some things. I think that the grid lines themselves should be below the waveform, but perhaps the labels should be above. I don't know, what does the oscilloscope meter does? Well, hard to tell. What does it do? It's too hard to tell, actually. I think that it is making everything transparent, so it's hard to tell what's on top of what, but you can still see everything. Yeah, we do have that option. It's an argument that you can pass that will make everything transparent. Yeah, so with that, I would just leave that. Oh boy, a waveform display, it works. I am taking tomorrow off, but I will be back on Friday. And we'll do some more. Perhaps we will even polish and finish off this little thing so that it can go where it belongs. It should be something that shows up on the master control panel like this. So you can see the waveform scrolling by. Super nice stuff. Perhaps we'll finish this off on Friday. Or we'll do something else. Perhaps Arya will be back in the picture and we'll do a stream there on his channel together. I don't know, we'll see. Thank you, Bo and Fatis, for showing up on the chat. Thank you everyone else who's watching this in the future or just lurking around. And I see you back here on Friday. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for watching the stream. You know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And so we'll all be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.